So it's really difficult because like these numbers aren't all the same. So if we zoom in here, and let's go ahead and zoom in, you see we have these things divided into a couple of different areas. We have the outside numbers and then the inside numbers. Now each of these numbers sections needs a different area of your keyboard. So these need the number keys at the top, the 1, 2, 3, 4s. These actually use the Q, W, E, Rs. And then these use the ASDFs. And then these use the ZXCVs. Now, I know that's really confusing, so I'm going to go ahead and show you where I found this stuff. So if you look here on this site here, it's got a great explanation of what these are for, how they work, and more importantly, where on your keyboard you're going to find these. So what I have now is I have a really nice spreadsheet that the member provided to me. Let me go and do that. By the way, if I sound a little funny, it's my first time recording on a PC, so bear with me, please. And here we go. So I was provided with these right here. Now, if you look, we have this stuff divided nicely into, the outside, the first 5, the second 5, and then the last part. This information here we don't actually need. That's more for that person's use than ours. But what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put something in here that says OG. And I'm going to go ahead and copy this information that I actually need over here. Copy, and I'm going to paste that here. And I'll explain why I'm going to put OG here in just a minute, but it'll make complete sense when I'm finished, hopefully. Alright, let's go ahead and do that. And we can have these things. So for the 6s, this is pretty easy here. I'm just going to go ahead and do a Command F and do find and replace. And I'm going to go ahead and just leave that because those are supposed to be 6s. Awesome. Close. Let's go ahead and do the next one. Now with one like this, you can actually go ahead and do like maybe 8955 because they all seem to have the 8955 in them. A couple of them change. I don't know why the company number changes here. You wouldn't think it should, but maybe it's for 2 different companies, or like where I work, we've run out of UPC codes, so we had to buy a second set. And so our numbers are slightly related, but they're not exactly the same. That might be the case. So let's go over here and let's look up what we have on this side now. So for 8, we want to go ahead and I don't believe caps matter for this at all either. So I, then we want O, not 0, but O, and then we want TT. And remember, I have this area selected so it's not going to affect the ones that come after OG. OG stands for original, and it'll kind of be our checksum later, and you'll see what that means by that. So let's go ahead and hit replace. Oops, not replace. We want to hit replace all. Yay! Now we see that we have 5 left, so I'm going to hit 5 there. Hit T. Hit replace all again. And then now for the 0. So I'm going to put 0 here. And then look over in our code. That's a P. And put that in and hit replace all. Okay, so that one is done now. So I'm going to hit close. Now these are consecutive, so I'm just going to go ahead and do these one at a time. So we're going to go ahead and hit replace. We're just going to start with 1, and that is A. Replace. Okay, and 2. Can you guess what comes next? Yes, S. Replace. And I'm going to continue to do that. I'm going to speed this part up probably, so that way you guys don't have to watch me do it because it gets kind of boring, and I understand it's kind of hard to vamp for that long. So I will be right back. Let's see, 4. Okay, so you kind of saw me do that real quick. Now you can see we have really weird looking letters here. We still have to do the last one. We're going to do the exact same thing now, but with the bottom row. So I'm going to go ahead and again and fast forward to this because it's just as boring. It's just as boring. Okay, so now we got all those done, and this looks like complete gibberish. But you notice over here we still have all these numbers. Now we're going to use this as a check later, so that's why we need these here. So let's go ahead and I'm going to hit Save As. And we want to make sure, I'm going to put this into my barcode folder for the moment. And we want to save this as a CSV comma delimited file. There's a lot of different types of CSVs. There's this one, there's the Windows one, there's the Mac one. We want this one. We're going to be using these kind of sheets a couple times in this tutorial. We always want to use this one. If for some reason you can't get it to work and you're like, I don't know why, that's probably it. Or one of the reasons maybe. So S codes. Source codes. Okay. So we're going to save that there. And it's going to give you this warning like, hey, you're going to lose information. It doesn't like CSV files because they don't keep rich text information like colored cells and formulas and things like that. So if you are using formulas in this, like we will be using later, and you want to keep these, then make sure you save out that one as like an Excel doc, like a normal one as well, and then use this as kind of like your output document. But for this, there's nothing weird going on, so I don't mind if we lose everything. And we're also going to close this because if not, InDesign will give us like this error, like, you got your file open, what are you doing? It's really annoying. Actually, I'm going to leave that open just so you can see it. All right, so let's go over to InDesign now. Now here's the one that I did later. Now you can see a slight white line there. That's not really going to show up. It's kind of more of a graphical glitch that InDesign has, and I'm going to show you why we have that. So I'm going to turn off this. We're going to get rid of that one for the bacon that I checked with this, and I'm just going to go here. So here is what it looks like now, but you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't look like anything. So I'm going to show you how I built this. So I'm going to go ahead and select all of this, hit delete, and we're going to come up here to, we want to go up, if you don't see data merge, which I'm going to bring in here in just a second. Ta-da, data merge. Like, if you don't see this data merge one, the where you get it is up. You go up to Window, Utilities, I believe, and then data merge. Now I'm going to go ahead and delete this old one out here. This will probably be empty. You're going to go up here to select data source. It's going to give you this warning. If you've already got one, you can ignore it. It's fine. And I'm going to go get to our barcode folder, if I can remember where I put it. Here we go. Again, bring on my S ones. That data source is open. Okay, see, that was what I was telling you about earlier. That's why you have to close these documents. It's a pain in the butt. Sometimes in the Mac it does it, sometimes the Mac it doesn't. I don't know why. It's annoying. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close my S source file. Hit OK, and I'm going to go and do that again. Oops, cancel. We don't want to do that. Yep, I know. We'll replace some data sources. Big deal. And over here, and then I'm going to go ahead and grab that. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and drop in our information. So here's the OG that we talked about. There's nothing in here. All this does is allow me to separate this information from this information. It's just something visual for myself. If you're really, really good and super smart and you don't think you need it, then you don't need it. I personally like having it just because it's kind of like a reminder like, hey, stop. But like I said, that's really a personal choice. All right. So there's the first one. You're like, wait, that looks completely wrong. But if we hit preview, aha, it shows up. But let's go ahead and do the rest of these. All right, let's go company, manufacturer, and then check. And then boom, it shows up beautifully. If I scroll through these, you can see they change, which is really nice. But they're a little short because this font was free. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take this, and I'm going to move this up to here. And then I'm going to push it behind that piece. So that way when I preview it, it's just kind of taller. No big deal. Just makes it look nicer and fills that space better. But there's one more thing. I want to put a check in here to make sure I didn't fat finger one of these numbers. Now, see how this is, oops, not that one. This is just barely on there. Just barely. And that's exactly what I want, because that means it'll show up and it'll come over when we hit the magic waffle, but it's not going to go ahead and show up when we export it. So for here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put the same information there. Now, if you see this information here, see, center that, and I'm going to push it to the bottom, and then bring it right there. And you know what? I'm going to even be fancy about it, and I'm going to space out the information, make it a little easier to check some of the stuff. They even put a space between these two. Ooh. So we don't need quite as much space now. Fancy. All right, so now that we've got this here, I can check this information and be like, yeah, that looks legit. I'm happy with that. Space it out some more. There we go. So now we can just do a real quick eyeball check. Oh, we forgot something. So it's a good thing I noticed. There's a little pillar in between the numbers. So I'm going to go ahead and take that one out. And that pillar is put in with the dash key, just like that. So like like right next to the equal sign, the dash key there. I am glad I noticed that, or else these barcodes would not have worked. All right. There we go. So now if I just scroll through these, you can see that changes with it. Perfect. It didn't look like I messed anything up. You can go through and check all these yourself later. That's fine. So now we're going to hit the magic waffle. I know it says create merge document, but I like to think of it as the magic waffle because it's amazing. It does great things. Now we want single recording. Everything here should be fine. Unless you're doing like multiples up on a page, then you should be fine with this. Hit OK. And now we wait. No overset text was generated. Good. That means we didn't mess anything up. And again, now we can just scroll through these really quick and see they look all fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and export these into a new barcode folder. So let's go ahead and create a new folder for us because these are the ones I did last time. That's my test, because when you're making a demo, you always want to test. Let's go new. And I'm going to go ahead and name that barcode, and I'm going to hit save. Now, these are all going to save out, though, as just barcode 1, barcode 2, which sucks because they don't have these numbers on them. And then you got to type them all in by hand. And, you know, if you got 5 or 10, it's not a big deal. But if you've got, like, 200 or 300, that's a big deal. That's a really big deal, and that's a pain in the butt. And I'm going to show you how to fix that because I've written some scripts for that already. Yay! All right, so let's go ahead and hit export. And those are probably exporting right now. Let's just go over here to this and go over to Barcodes saved and go into Barcodes new. All right, so boom, we have all of our barcodes. They're so pretty and they're so almost done. But there's one problem. They need to be renamed. So I'm going to put in a 1 right there real quick. I'm just going to use the top ones because Excel handles them better. And you'll see what I mean here in just a second. It's a pain in the butt, but, you know, that's life. And you're going to be seeing some of the custom Python scripts today that I did. They're really simple to run, so don't be intimidated. You don't need to do any coding. I did all that part for you. And if you've got better solutions for renaming these, by no means do you need to do that. By this point, this is really done if you don't need to rename them. I just want to rename them because I would never be able to tell which one Barcode 8 was. I'm just like that. Can't remember that kind of thing. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to go down here to this app that I have, and I'm going to show you where to get this. So let's go over to this, and let's bring that back out. I have my own GitHub. So it's PSD Wizard with 2 Z's. That is not a typo. That is intentional. And if you've read Discworld, you know why it's there. So the first thing you're going to want to do is get the InDesign image link creator. Now what this does on PC and Mac is it can give you one of 2 things. It can either give you a list of files in a folder, or it can give you the actual URL link, or not URL, but the actual links to those images. So if you're using InDesign and you want to drop in an image as part of your code, you can use this to do that. So I would hit download or clone. I've already got this downloaded, so we're going to go to that. And it'll download like this. It won't have all these extra folders. I did that because I've used this before. And I'm going to double click this, and it's going to ask me for some information. Do I want files or paths? Well, for this one I want files. Enter the path. So let's go ahead then and get the path real quick. Is my computer locked up? Nope. Okay. And let's go back to where we were. And there's the path. You can copy this out. If you're on a Mac, you can right click on this and there'll be like a get info information, kind of like properties. And you can copy that same path out from there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit paste. It's going to ask me for a name for this project. I'm going to say Barcodes. And now I've got this little handy dandy, what do you call it, file here. And it's got all the barcode names in it. Excellent. And it's even got my CSV file that we created that we don't need. So we're going to delete that one. We're going to go ahead and sort this real quick because for some reason on a PC it does that because I'm not the world's greatest programmer. So data sort. And yep, column A is fine. And we're actually going to go ahead and cut this and move this to here and insert a top here. And we're just going to go old. And you'll see why we're going to do that in a minute. So let's go back to our original document we had with OGs and stuff in it. There we go. Nope, that's not it. Where is it? It is... Where did I close it? I guess I closed it, but that's, yeah, I did close it. Remember? Duh. We closed it together. All right, so let's go up to File, Open. There we go. Is that it? Nope, that was one I just hit open. I'm still getting used to my PC. I've been on a Mac for a very, very long time, and I recently hit a switch. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and hide these because we don't need this information, and it'll get confusing. So let's just hide that, and we're going to hide the OG. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to type the .jpeg, and we're going to hit the equal sign, and we're going to click on that first one, and then we're going to hit the ampersand, or the and symbol, and do the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and guess what? And the next one. Now you can see that we have the barcode.jpg there. Yay! Okay, so now we just need to double tap these. And you can see now we have all the barcodes. They're all there. They're so pretty. So let's go ahead there and we're going to cut these. I hate Windows. I will get used to it though. All right, and we're going to go ahead and we can't just paste these in because we paste these in, it's going to be like reference, reference, reference. Don't worry about that. Go ahead and hit paste special. And then it's going to want values. Okay, so we're going to name this one new. And I'm going to go ahead and include this file name in the description just because it's got to be very, very specific. So I'm going to copy that. Because the other program I wrote will look for this exact file name. And that's how it knows what to rename stuff. Okay, nope, that's not the one we wanted. I know it's a little rougher than I usually do, guys. Sorry about that. And a little bit longer, probably, too. So we're going to go ahead and save as, and into new. And we want to go ahead and name this now that old dash new names dash new dash names. And we want that to be that same kind of CSV file. New, okay, save. Cannot save this workbook. Oh, yeah, that's one of the things I really, 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 really hate about Excel. I've already got one of these open, so I had to close that one first. Now I can do it. Can you imagine how annoying it would be if Photoshop couldn't open all of your untitled ones? Or, you know, yeah, it would just be so annoying. All right. Again, we're going to get that same warning. Hey, you're going to lose all your stuff, man. It's going to suck. Don't worry about it. Just it's cool, man. I got it. All right, this one you don't need to close this time. So now we need to go back to my GitHub. Oh, you need to know how to run these. All right, I'm going to insert that part in the middle of the video. So let's go back to my GitHub. Go back to PSD Wizard. And we want to come down and we want to look for Super Renamer Pro. I kind of feel like you should look at the 1980s cartoon Echo for that. Anyway, we're going to download that. What this program does is it's going to take that. Let's go back to that document we had. Maybe that won't open. Okay, well that's fine. And that's going to take. See, now it does have two of them. Nope, I'm going to cut this part out. Okay. So it's going to take this column of information and rename it as that column of information. That's basically all it's going to do. But the cool thing is, let's say I want to rename this one like 10 times for 10 different things. I could just keep this file here and it would rename it 10 different times for 10 different things. I use it a lot at work. Anyway, back to what we're doing. So let's go to the new folder again. And let's copy that path because we're going to need that path. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run this. And I'm going to open that with. Now, normally we just double click to run this, but I'm got some other issues going on in my Python. So it's going to ask, where are your files, man? You tell them my files are there. And that's basically all you have to do. So what it's going to do is, while that's running right there, it's going to create a save folder, and it's going to rename everything and drop it into that save folder. And they're already done. So if I open up one of these in Photoshop, you can see it's named the same thing now. Perfectly done. Bob's your dad, or uncle, whatever. And that's how you do it. So if you have any questions, post them below, and I'll see if I can get back to you. And thanks. Bye. Okay. So before we go to my GitHub, we're going to go ahead and need to go to Python. And let's just go ahead and put Python in. We're not getting a snake, don't worry. We're going to go to download. And there's a couple of different flavors of Python. This is probably going to be the most intimidating part of the entire video, especially if you're not used to the stuff. We don't want anything that starts with 3. We want 2.7. So let's go ahead and click on 2.7. And now there's a bunch of other options here. If you're on a Mac, you want this one. If you are on Windows and you have an Intel processor, remember that. You want this one. If you are on a Windows and you have an AMD processor, you want this one. If you don't know what you have on your computer somewhere, it should say Intel inside, or the Intel logo with an i7 or an i9 or an i3 or an i5 or an Intel dual core. If it says anything AMD, then you want the one that says AMD. It's that simple. So just download that and install it. I've already got mine installed, so you can see that, and you'll need that. You don't want Python 3. Later in the video, you're going to see that I have to actually open up the IDE versus just double-clicking something, and that's because it's running in Python 3, and my program doesn't work in Python 3. It only works in 2.7 or 2. So if you have any other questions, like I said, post them down at the bottom of the video.